What's up, guys? I would like to welcome you all to another NerdSociety.com video. I'm your host, as always, Ivan Krolo, aka the Game Raging Psycho, and today I will be doing a review of the first big event slash crossover done in the X-Men books ever since Marvel Now launched. All new X-Men's Battle of the Atom. But before I do that, I would just like to turn your attention to our site. If you need a place where all your nerd needs can be fulfilled, such as reviews of comic books, TV shows, movies, interviews with comic book creators, movie creators, and a whole bunch of other creative people working in nerd culture, then nerdsociety.com is the place for you. You can find it down below in the comment description. Now, All New X-Men was a book that everybody was skeptical about before it launched. Everyone was saying this cannot work. It's just not going to make any sense to bring in the original 5 X-Men into the present. It's just going to be a big continuity mess. And we were all thoroughly told to shut up by Bendis and his amazing writing on the initial dozen or so issues of the book. The book's greatest accomplishment, in my opinion, is the fact that it actually made me give a shit about a lot of X-Men characters I really didn't care about. I started to care about Beast. I started to care about Scott. And most surprisingly, I started to actually like Jean Grey of all people, who I considered, up until that point, to be one of the most boring, useless characters ever created in any fictional universe, ever. And this book actually managed to make me care about her significant other Cyclops, another character I thought who was completely useless but has become a complete badass ever since Grant Morrison started his evolution back in the early 2000s, and it was then significantly built up by Grant Morrison himself, Joss Whedon, and then finally capped off with Matt Fraction. And so All New X-Men was just easily one of the best Marvel Now books of the launch. It had fantastic writing by Brian Michael Bendis. It brought back the X-Men into the main Marvel universe ever since Brian Michael Bendis took them out of the main universe with House of M almost a decade ago to this day, and coupled with some truly spectacular art by Stuart Immonen, you just had a book that was the complete package. Great storytelling, great character banter, and just fantastic art. But then, as with all things, it had to be fucked up. And Battle of the Atom is the storyline that really fucks everything up. But the issue that sort of signals the end for the good era of All New X-Men, at least for now, was the Valentine's Day issue where Bobby and Scott, they go outside of the mansion, they go hang out with some kids, Cyclops starts hitting on some girl who's just basically Jean Grey, just a little bit chubbier with glasses and all that shit. And then Jean Grey and Beast actually get together. Now, that could have been an interesting relationship to sort of evolve. But Bendis pretty much shoots it in the foot because in the next issue, when things in Battle of the Atom start going down, she immediately goes to Scott, and the two of them basically hang out for the rest of the story arc and basically continue their romance, even though they mutually decided that would be a very bad fucking idea. There are things I legitimately despise about a lot of X-Men storylines, and there are some exceptions to these, but for the most part, the things I hate about X-Men is the cosmic shit and the time travel shit. Both of these were introduced by Chris Claremont, and since I vehemently despise both these gimmicks used in X-Men storylines, like I said, with a couple of exceptions here and there, he is forever going to be on my shit list. And this storyline really proves why the time travel thing for X-Men is overused, and it proves definitively once and for all, Bendis should not be allowed to write a fucking crossover. He should not ever be allowed to write another crossover. And the person at Marvel who keeps letting him write crossovers needs to be shot, hung, cut to pieces, burned, and then thrown into a vat of acid, and not necessarily in that order. Because Bendis constantly fucks up crossovers. I mean, the first big crossover he did was House of M, and House of M is one of the few what-if X-Men storylines, and just one of the few what-if alternate universe storylines in recent years that I genuinely like, because it really showed, like, what would be the ideal universe, the ideal life for Steve Rogers. You know, he would be an old man, you know, he would never become part of the super soldier serum. He would be an old man. He would age with his peers and, just be an old man in modern day. He would never be frozen in that cube of ice like he is, in the main Marvel universe. Spider-Man would be married to Gwen Stacy, and it was all just beautifully drawn and written very, very well by Brian Michael Bendis, who was kind of an up-and-comer, at that point. Sure, he did become kind of a superstar with Ultimate Spider-Man, but once he got involved with the Avengers and all that stuff, that is when he truly became like a top echelon writer, and this was kind of what helped elevate him to that top tier. But then he wrote Secret Invasion, which was hyped up for years and years and years, and then it was basically just the Avengers fucking around in the Savage Land while the thing, the Secret Invasion, the Skrulls infiltrating every possible position of any significance on Earth, all that awesome stuff we were promised. Yeah, all that stuff happens in the tie-ins. None of that is in the main fucking book. And since the Savage Land is horribly boring, that just creates an event that fails completely. And alright, Siege was okay, but Age of Ultron, baby. Age of Ultron is without a doubt one of the worst storylines I've ever read. Not just in comic books. It is just one of the worst stories ever told, period, as far as I'm concerned. If you like it, fine. I can respect your opinion as long as you respect mine. But in my opinion, Age of Ultron fucking sucked. And when they announced that Avengers 2 might possibly be tied into the comic book, I just rolled my eyes and facepalmed myself until my whole face was red. But, Joss Whedon came out and said that the movie has nothing to do with the comic. They're just taking the comic's name and using it for the movie, so that all is great. But now that my short 2-minute rant is over, I think I more than proved my point that Bendis should not be allowed to write a fucking event. And Age of Ultron also proves that he should not be allowed to write time travel, because the whole point of Battle of the Atom is that in the beginning issues of it, the all-new X-Men go out on a mission and they team up with Scott's gang for a little while so that they can take out some Sentinels. And then young Scott is almost killed, and old Scott also appears to disappear. So the whole time stream temporarily just goes completely out of whack, but then one of the new mutants on Cyclops' side manages to save him. And so after Wolverine hears about this, he's just like, no, you guys are going back to your own time. We dodged a serious bullet here. And then a bunch of new X-Men from the future, they show up, they interact with the new characters. And what happens is like at least 50 characters going around arguing with each other. Everyone has their own agenda. There's just a billion things going on that just aren't very interesting, to be honest with you. And then the whole storyline basically fucks itself in the ass when it is revealed that the old X-Men cannot go back to their own time because it would destroy the time stream. So, the whole point of your storyline is, should you or should you not send them back to the past? Because if you send them back, they run the risk of repeating the same mistakes they did before. And basically, Beast's whole point of bringing them here, which is so that old Cyclops can see young Cyclops and, see who he used to be and possibly redeem himself, that all gets thrown out the fucking window here because the old X-Men cannot go back, because if they do, it's going to destroy the time stream. So basically, not only have you fucked the whole point of this story, you have fucked an integral part of your whole series ever since it launched by just revealing they can't ever go back because it's just going to ruin everything. And, you might be able to get over this, but I can't. I cannot believe that a writer would make something such a big integral part of a series and then just decide later on, well, nah, none of that matters. All that stuff, should not be sent back, is it okay to do this kind of thing? That doesn't matter anymore because now a magic plot device that happens in Uncanny fucking Avengers of all places says they cannot go back. So what is the point of your whole series? What is the point? What is the point? And then, to add even more insult to injury, he does the time travel bullshit that I said I loathe and despise with the burning passion of 1,000 suns going supernova. Basically, the X-Men, and I'm using the quotation thing with my hands if you can't tell, the X-Men show up in the past, but then they reveal that they're not really the X-Men. So Cyclops' X-Men go into the future, and they deal with the real X-Men, while the evil X-Men are fighting Wolverine's X-Men. It's just a big fucking clusterfuck. There are just way, 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 way too many characters in this book, and it just creates a confusing situation where there's just a bunch of stuff happening without any rhyme or reason, and this whole debate throughout the whole book on, who's right, who's not right. Is it right to bring in the old X-Men back? Like I said, it all doesn't matter at all because they reveal that it's some kind of stupid plot device from Uncanny Avengers that isn't even seen until the latest issue that came out a couple of weeks ago, that they cannot go back. So this entire storyline is completely pointless. It's even more pointless when you realize that this what if future they're setting up is never going to happen. This is why what if futures don't fucking matter in the least. They don't matter because we know that they're just going to come up with something else that's going to replace this in a couple of months, and then they're just going to say, oh yeah, this is what the Marvel Universe is going to be, in like 20, 30 years. It's going to be all these guys, kind of as old men doing shit. And really, this is an indicative problem of Marvel now in general. They just waste way too much time on alternate universes and time travel stuff, and it's just creating a universe that barely makes any sense. I mean, Bendis already broke the camel's back with Age of Ultron, where the time stream doesn't make any sense. Like, apparently Wolverine wrecking the time stream is what allows Peter Quill to be New 52 in Marvel now. I have no idea how that remotely makes any sense at all. But yeah, this whole storyline is like a big waste of time. It's not even that well drawn, to be honest with you. A lot of the art feels kind of pretty rushed. The characters don't look that well. I mean, Stuart Immonen, in the few places he is here, he does a serviceable job. But this book also falls prey to the Bendis talky bits that he is infamous for. Now, when Bendis does banter, he can do banter very, 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 very well. It can work. He can easily justify the copious amounts of dialogue he has as long as it's written well. There are so many fucking instances here where characters just keep talking on and 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 on, and I just want to bash my face in while trying to keep track of it all. And it gets even worse because when you have all these characters on one panel or on one page, you just have a whole shitload of them talking over each other, and you have no idea what the hell is going on. I mean, if that's the effect that you're supposed to feel while this is going on, like it's a big argument, then okay, I guess. But still, he just takes his whole dialogue thing to a bigger extreme, and I really feel like this storyline could have easily not even happened, because I feel this is the storyline that completely ruined All New X-Men. It broke his great streak that he had with the book, when he came onto it, and he just made a whole big part of his whole series completely pointless by using some worthless plot device from Uncanny Avengers of all places, make it so that the old X-Men can never come back to their own time. And then the whole Beast-Jean relationship gets completely screwed here, because Jean and Scott, big shocker, they spend most of their time together doing stuff, running away from the old X-Men and bonding and stuff. But I am so sick of this relationship, it's not even funny. These two are not interesting together at all. At all. Scott and Emma was far more interesting because Emma herself is a more interesting character, and her influence on Scott, by extension, made him a more interesting character, and it just made me care about their relationship even more. The Scott and Jean relationship has always been boring as piss to me. I mean, they're both nice guys and whatnot, and it's just not interesting. I've never cared about these two as a couple. up until recently, I didn't really give a shit about these guys as individuals. And then when you put two people I really dislike together, that's just like quantifying my own hatred of them even more. So yeah, I don't like the fact that a potentially cool romance with Beast was just thrown to the side like one issue after it's set up, and just, god damn it, Bendis, why did you have to ruin one of the best Marvel books? Why did you have to ruin it with this overly long, overly gimmicky, worthless waste of paper and time? Like, I wish I could go back in time and make this shit not happen. I would make this worthless piece of trash never, ever leave the planning phases. And then, to add even more insult to injury, they allow Bendis to do another fucking crossover with Guardians of the Galaxy, aka Space Avengers, because calling Bendis's guys the Guardians of the Galaxy is just a blatant lie. And I'm gonna make a whole separate video explaining why the Space Avengers are not the real Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, Battle of the Atom is a worthless waste of time. It is one of the most pointless, one of the most self-destructive storylines that a writer could have possibly done for himself and for the larger X-Men universe. And this whole thing has single-handedly, for the most part, destroyed the whole X-Men line in general. Like, the only X-Men book worth a fuck anymore is Uncanny X-Men, and I just cannot wait to see how Bendis intends to screw that up, just like he did All New X-Men. So, yeah. That is my review of Battle of the Atom, guys. Once again, if you need a place where you can get all your nerd needs fulfilled, like reviews on comic books, TV shows, movies, interviews with comic book creators, movie creators, you can check out nerdsociety.com in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.